It is Monday again. Blah, 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 blah. It's Monday again, and it's time to go live. I guess it's a little bit later than usual because I'm in Denmark. Maybe that's why I can't speak. Um, but I have a friend who has been watching MSTR on Mondays. This is MSTR on Mondays. It's March 10. The price of Bitcoin is regarded low. Let's see, it's $79,000. The price of MSTR is $239. There is a new game going on MSTR on Mondays. Which currently Ben Workman is winning. That game is, I won't say it, but so by the way, this used to be the name of this show. Now it's MSTR on Mondays after they changed their name to Strategy, the company. The ticket symbol is still MSTR. And the game there is on MSTR Monday, it's so over. Let me just put this one chat on the screen. That game is that whoever mentions the previous name of the company will be it. And last time someone said the name, which I won't say, that was Ben Workman. He was doing a great job on that. And maybe I have to stop the game because otherwise he doesn't want to come back. He wants someone else to be it. But anyways, Ben Workman is it because he's the last to set the previous name of the company. Anyways, so it's very fashionable to wear the orange tie. Um, so I finally got a tie. Um, I had I had a couple of nice ties. I lost all of them in the Palisades fire in early January. Um, so I recently went to an outlet mall where they had a Ralph Lauren shop. So this really nice, I think, really nice Ralph Lauren tie was like $12 and it has lots of orange in it. So I think that'll be my swanky take on the orange tie, at least for now. I had a really nice Bitcoin tie actually, which was like rare. Um, Not many made of that that I got. That really sucked losing that one. But of course, a lot of those things sucked losing. It is what it is. But it's fine. I can rebuy everything in due time. Wait, let me just see. The economic expert Ben was so annoyed by the game the last one. Yeah, see, that's the thing, Ben Workman. You know, I know you may not want to come back. That's the reason. Otherwise, he absolutely, of course, enjoyed it. But wow, 114 live viewers just started, and it was announced with about 5 minutes notice. Last Monday, I was traveling from LA to Denmark. On the Monday, could have maybe squeezed something in, but just thought it was a bit stressful, so I didn't do it. The previous Monday, I was also traveling, and I did do a show from the airport with Nitho, aka Soleil, on covered call selling, which was you'll find that on the YouTube channel if you go back to MSTR Mondays 14. This is MSTR Mondays 15. Some pretty useful tools there from Soleil on which on where there's a website where you can look at the implied volatility, and you usually want to do covered call selling um, when there's high volatility because then that premium will be higher. Anyway, so this episode I'm doing for my friend Casper that I got interested in MSTR. I do believe that he did put some of his retirement into it now, hopefully. And he's been watching some of my shows. And if you guys have been here before, you know those are really smart people I have on as guests, which speak a um, a high level game on understanding MSTR as an investment. And and he asked me to send him something more simple, easy to understand MSTR as an investment. So I was thinking about it, and then I thought, well, I need to be able to do that as well, give the simple explanation on what MSTR uh, is for a type of company, why is it interesting, what type of investment is it, what is the playbook that they're running. And that is, of course, all I think extremely interesting, which is why there's so many investors in MSTR. It's why it's one of the most traded stocks in the entire world. Some days it is, some days it's like top 10, top 5, because, you know, as as I tell people, the best performing assets the last 5 years is Bitcoin, except it isn't. It's actually MSTR, the stock that owns Bitcoin, this stock, which has made it its mission to acquire as much Bitcoin as possible, well, even more precisely to increase the amount of Bitcoin per share as much as possible. Just owning a lot of Bitcoin is not an end game in itself. You don't want dilution. You want accretive dilution, or as Matt from MSGR Daily calls it, accretive equity issuance. But here I go, already using some fancy words that I only learned myself recently. So I'm just gonna pay a little attention to the chat and see if there's any questions there, any pointers. But also really I want to move on to explain MSTR as an investment on as easy to understand level as possible, so that it's something that can be understood by everyone, including our grandmothers. That's the level I got to be able to explain it on. And if I don't succeed this time, I'll try again another time, and I can get some feedback on whatever needs to be explained more. But that's the ambition. So um, let's just have a look at the chat real quick. 200 live viewers now. Thank you for tuning in, guys. By the way, so this is the one and only merch I had. It was made by my friend Jonas Extemos. He's a printer. He prints Bitcoin. He's a Bitcoiner. He lives in LA. He's one of my good friends. He prints stuff. So he made this for me. And of course it's a little bit outdated, but he promised if anybody still wants some of that, the OG merch, OG being the previous name of the company, having that on it, then he'll print some more. He'll anyways, I should have a link or something to him. Let's see here. All right, Kevin says hi. What's up, my man? Da, 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 da. All right, we have Eric, pot en voyage. He bought the dip while traveling in El Salvador. Epic. That is epic, my friend. Good stuff. What else do we have here? I wanna back when we started Toxic Happy on this channel, Puppy and I, in 2020, I was throwing stuff random on. It was a little bit more let's call it raw, unfiltered show, chucking stuff on the screen without checking it first. Want to be a little bit more professional. You know what I mean. Been saying this here for less than Marco share. Nothing to worry about if you're careful. Yep, nothing to worry about if you're careful with leverage. Yeah, I do want to say, as I've said before several times in this channel, and I will continue to say that, and that is, I obviously none of what I say is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing my opinion, my takes, and some people may and may not find that useful to some extent, but you got to do your own research. But it's financial entertainment, really. It's not financial advice, it's compassionate advice. If you do like the financial entertainment, feel free to like and subscribe and share. Hopefully today's episode will be um good to share if you want to have have someone that don't understand MSTR better understand that as an investment. I'll do my best, and I can always uh try and do again more episodes in the future. Yeah. All right, so what I've said before and what I'll say again, not financial advice, is I consider MSTR a rare combination of being really quite a safe investment. Nothing is 100% safe. All right. You invest in your own responsibility. But I consider it a rare combination of a very safe investment and an investment that can give an absolutely um, massive return. I expect MSTR to give a massive return, and also outperform Bitcoin. And I think that's what's drawing in so many people to this investment of MSTR, the company that's used to be called, where we go there, and is now called Strategy, ticker symbol MSTR. Um, what attracts people is the fact that, bottom line, they outperform over a bit of time. They outperform what used to be the best investment in the world in terms of return, which is Bitcoin. Um, and so I want to explain that because that is obviously very interesting, from an investment point of view. And so, all right, let me start with a little bit of the history of MSTR, how it came about to be the investment that it is today. It started with Michael Saylor, the CEO and at the time and founder of the company. The company was like surviving, not no great growth, but they were doing okay. They were making the money they were making, but they were in a very tough industry, business intelligence, competing, and they had $500 million cash on the balance sheet. And then COVID happened, and in 2008, in the great financial crisis, the central bank and the politicians learned that if they gave money printing, money dilution a fancy name, they could get away with it, and people wouldn't riot in the streets. And so they found out if they just printed a lot of money and called it quantitative easing instead of just currency dilution, then people kind of accepted it. So, the politicians, the powers that be, said that we need to print a lot of money and like stimulate and hand it out. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. I think was the reaction for most people. So that happened back then, which meant the real wage, the real purchasing power of people's salary just went through the floor downwards. And it essentially has been doing that for decades. And that's why people, even though they see numbers go up on houses are worth more and salaries are worth more, in reality, they are not, because the real purchasing power is going down. It cannot catch up with the actual real inflation. Measured inflation is a scam. You just look at the money supply, it's much easier. Why go through the hoops of changing baskets, of measuring milk and egg and raw meat, steaks? And when steaks go up, they take it out and say you don't really need to eat steak. Um, just look at the actual inflation, which is inflation of the money supply. And that has been an average of about 7%, since 1971, when US went off the gold standard, like finally. So that's why in reality, everyone's just been getting off, majority, let's say Main Street, have really just been getting worse and worse off on a yearly basis, um, for decades. Anyways, so they learned that in 2008, if they just called it something fancy, quantitative easing, they could get away with it. It took them a while to figure out. I think it was like 6 months, or maybe a year before they figured out we'll just print a lot of money and hand it out. Um, Not really majority to private people. It was bailing out banks. So they knew that playbook existed and it worked for the people that it needed to work for, their buddies and the ones paying for the political campaigns, etc. So what they did when COVID hit and the stock market collapsed, and I remember sitting on TradingView and watching Bitcoin drop 50% in 8 hours. So I know people are freaking out right now. I see a lot of bearish momentum or attitude on X because Bitcoin is down almost 30% in a month. Like the Bitcoin bull market of 16, 17 famously had 6 corrections of more than 30%. We're almost at 30%. Wow. Okay. Um, it could be a lot worse. I guess my point is that yeah, what was my point? That's a good question. Let me get some water. That can help, maybe. Ah. Anyways, back to the tie. I think it was Ponder Jeff and Ryan, my good friends, the Quant Bros that started the whole MSTR content game. They started with orange ties, and then Tim Kosman put on the orange tie as well, and he's my version. Ralph Lauren outlet mall, $12, and it's fancy. Look at it. I like it. And it's my only tie now because the rest burned in January in Palisades. No complaining. My life is good. Life is good. God is good. So, mm, all right. Where was I going with that? Still didn't come back to me, even though I was trying to buy time there. Nothing new has shown up in the chat for a while. I'm not sure if seen before that it just stopped working. Maybe it's just no one writing anything. That's cool. Right. So I recall now. So when COVID happened, the politicians wanted to um, save the day, print a lot of money to get assets back up, to get the stock market back up. Well, the chat is working, so thank you there. That's right, Bitcoin, not crypto, not crypto. Bitcoin only, and MSTR. That's a good investment. Let's be honest. Um, so um, so back at COVID, Bitcoin fell 50% in only 8 hours. That was exciting to look at. So what the point is, yeah, what we're seeing now is it's not a big deal. Relax. Anyways, when COVID happened, also the stocks collapsed, and that's why they decided to do even more quantitative easing, so much quantitative easing that, and because they had already run the playbook and spent the months and months of figuring it out back in 2008, I think it was 2009, they relatively quickly went to printing money. And that's why I have not been at all worried about a long-term correction of assets since then, because they run that playbook, and if assets collapse, they just run that playbook hard. And in COVID, they showed they'll just jump straight to money printing, which is terrible in terms of the real value of people's savings, the real value of people's salaries. We're actually getting poorer. We just don't know it because people believe the official inflation numbers, which are not, they're not true. They're not. You go look at the supermarket prices. Everything I look at in the supermarket is pretty much up 100% since 2020. So in 5 years, um, this 8, 9, 7, 5, 4% inflation a year, it's just does not stick. It's not. It's not. Those are not true numbers. It's a lie. It's a scam. Just like central banking in itself is a scam. Anyway, so what happened was, Sailor saw how, I recall, correct me if I'm wrong, but they created $6 trillion in a matter of 2 weeks after the COVID crash. This is how I recall it. And it was a 20% dilution of the money supply in just 2 weeks. So what happened was the stocks went down, and then bounced hard back up. I guess that's what they call a V correction. And Saylor could see $500 million on his balance sheet was not, they were not going to keep value. Now, a lot of people think that they don't see that it's going to lead to higher prices, but naturally, if you create, print more of something, it's going to be worth less. It'll just take a little time to spill over to higher prices. But Saylor could see that. He could see this $500 million I have sitting on the balance sheet now is just really going, as he famously said, it's like an ice cube sitting and melting away in the sun. And that is fiat currency. I think that's why most Bitcoiners really don't have a lot of fiat currency. I don't have a lot of dollars sitting around because I know they just lose value all the time. And that sucks a little bit when you see price drops like now. You wish you had dry powder to buy. I don't have any dry powder because I don't like being in like dry powder is fiat, and fiat is dirty, and fiat loses value fast. So, anyways, so Sailor saw that. So initially, strategy, aka MSTR, um, started to they basically bought over 2 rounds. They gave back 75, I think, $1 million to shareholders that didn't want to participate in that. So they were like bought out. And then $425 million over 2 rounds were spent buying Bitcoin, that which went straight on Strategy's balance sheet. And they did that they announced it in August 2020. It was one of the first shows on me and Puppy did Toxic Happy on YouTube. I remember we were very excited about it and announcing it on the show that was happening. And so it started as a defensive move really to protect the shareholder value. And then with time, I remember when when BlackRock had filed for the Bitcoin ETF in spring 23, in the spring of 2023, BlackRock filed for the ETF, and me and Puppy on X Spaces had a guy called Mark Yusko on. And he said, watch out for the BlackRock ETF. When they file, that's the one that's going to get improved. That's deep state. Those are the guys. Um, it's a part of deep state. It's those are the guys calling the shots. So when they file, that's the one that's going to get approved. And surely, or correctly, that was the ETF and then 10 others that got approved. But when they filed, it was already a done deal. He expected they would get approved, and they did. My point is that when news of that broke that they filed, and we had what 8 months or so to they actually got approved in January. In that period, I said I'd rather buy Strategy MSTR shares. Not that I did, I didn't myself, but I would rather buy that with a positive compound interest on the amount of Bitcoin per share than an ETF that has a negative compound interest. How does that work? Well, every year, most of them, I believe, have 25 basis points. So that's a quarter of a percentage that um, that they take off the Bitcoin to pay the cost of running the ETF. So you basically lose a 1/4% of the Bitcoin value backing an ETF every year, where MSTR, they were doing different things. They had a surplus in a profit in the and cash flow from the operating company, the business intelligence software division, which was the company. With that, they bought more Bitcoin. So, well, that's a positive compound interest. And if you understand positive, if you understand compound interest and how if you keep taking from something over time, how it means it's just gonna, be eaten away, or if you add a certain percentage and you keep doing that, how um how powerful that is over time. And I've read one Bitcoin book. That's The Price of Tomorrow by Jeff Booth. Highly recommend it. The Price of Tomorrow, Jeff Booth. Amazing Canadian, nice guy, investor, Bitcoiner, just such a good person. Um, and um, he's really good at explaining this compound interest and how people tend to always, how mankind just simply can't really comprehend um, compound interest. And let me give you an example from the book. If you take a piece of paper and fold it, right, so it becomes now twice the height of a piece of paper, just a piece of paper used for printing whatever. And then you do that again a second time and a third time. Like, so how tall do you think that is when you have folded double a piece of paper in height 50 times? And people will be like, well, it's a building. It's like, well, it's going to reach all the way to the sun. So that's the power of compound interest. And it's the same with the encryption of Bitcoin. Um, the SHA-256, how it's 2 to the power of 256. Correct me if I'm wrong, but doubling to 256 times becomes such an incredibly large number that that even it's just, even with supercomputers, quantum computers, impossible to guess the right number if there's a number you have to guess. I may be getting details wrong. The point is that it's numbers can get incredibly big when you do compound interest. Anyways, so back to the story of strategy, MSTR. So as time went on after August 2020, Saylor and his team, because there's a whole team behind him, of course, of highly skilled people, um, they looked at different moves that they could do to increase, buy more Bitcoin, but in a way where it becomes more Bitcoin per share. And anything else is not interesting. You want to increase the value that is backing each stock. And really that just took off in last year, 2024, the Q3 announcement earnings call, which is on YouTube, from Strategy. At the time, they were called this name. This is the name of the show, MSTR on Mondays. Now, rebranded, of course. Um, then um, uh, last year, they really just develop so many ways they can tap into the existing traditional finance, different capital pools, and give them something that they can buy and that they want in a way where they get some of the upside of Bitcoin, some of the upside of strategy, MSTR, but also limit some of the downside. And that earnings call, Q3 2024 earnings call from Strategy, is probably the best earnings call ever. It's the most profound or revolutionary in corporate finance, because Saylor really laid down, this is the way that we as a company, and this is what makes MSTR such an interesting and, in my opinion, phenomenal investment. He laid down, this is the way that we essentially uh, have created. We are the not the gateway, but we have created a way for the trillions of dollars in traditional finance to tap into some of that upside of Bitcoin and helping it. And this is one thing I absolutely love about the company Strategy, helping these hundreds of trillions of dollars in traditional finance tap in to the upside of Bitcoin, and in the process, helping these trillions of dollars move from TradFi boring lack of return products into the phenomenal returns that Bitcoin is giving over time. Um, so what I love so much about what they're doing is that they're helping bringing about hyper Bitcoinization. They're helping bringing about Bitcoin taking over as the one and only and superior and dominating global reserve asset. It is already by, if you look at the properties of Bitcoin, definitely by far the most superior global reserve asset. But creating these gateways or these different products, and I'll get into them for traditional finance, they're helping them get access to the return. That money is moved into Bitcoin simply by, and I'll get into the products, but essentially strategy sells different products to traditional finance, convertible bonds, preferred stock, and I'm sure many more are to come. And strategy buys Bitcoin for that money. Dollar for dollar, it all goes into Bitcoin. I'll get into those products because they're really very interesting. All right, let me just, before I do that, check up on the chat here. I see my buddy Whiskey Bravo Mike is there. Kids game, nobody wants to play. Okay. Right. So as Whiskey here, Bravo Mike, explains, when you go from buying Bitcoin from $70,000 and it goes all the way down to 16,000, 30% is just a great buying opportunity. I couldn't agree more. All right. I'm seeing some, yeah, you had some sound issues, but they're good. That's good. Um, all right. So yeah, feel free to ask questions in the chat. It's streaming live on both X and on YouTube, and I get both of those chats combined here on my screen. So, anyways, so back to the products that the financial products that strategy is offering to traditional finance. Um, One of the ways they're raising funds is through selling shares, ATM, at the market share selling, um, which essentially just is selling shares. So that's not like it's a new product or anything, but it's selling shares, and then buying Bitcoin for it. And that's the whole play. Actually, now we come to the key of why strategies is so interesting from an investor point of view. Um, so currently, currently, the price of MicroStrategy shares compared to the Bitcoin that they hold on the balance sheet um, is a factor 1.77, which is historically like pretty low. Let's just make it, let's just say, because a long time it's been above 2 last year. So for the sake of making it easy, let's say that each strategy stock trades at $200 for each $100 worth of Bitcoin. So what is interesting, bottom line, at the core of this investment is that they can continue to increase the amount of Bitcoin per share. And this is one of the ways they do it. So if there is $100 worth of Bitcoin backing $200 worth of share, then when they issue new shares for $200 and then they buy Bitcoin, for um for um for $200, but the previous shares were only backed by $100 of Bitcoin. So the new shares, the first $100 of Bitcoin that strategy buys makes the new shares have the same backing of Bitcoin, the same $100 per $200 worth of shares, $100 worth of Bitcoin, and they put that behind, into the treasury, so it's behind the shares and backing the shares. The $100 extra of Bitcoin that they bought, because they sold shares for 200, it was only backed by 100. When they sell for 200, they buy for $200 worth of Bitcoin. The first $100 makes the new share being backed to the same extent as the previous share. And then that $100 extra of Bitcoin that they just bought, they split that out essentially in practicality to all the shares. So now all the shares have that $100 extra worth of Bitcoin split out between them. And that's why every time Saylor hits the ATM, he is catching the arbitrage. He's catching the difference between, we're selling the shares this much, it's only backed by this little Bitcoin. The difference, we're capturing that in Bitcoin and putting it into the treasury, so it benefits all the shareholders. So every time he hits the ATM, sells more shares, it increases the amount of Bitcoin per share. So that's what Saylor was most active with in Q4 last year. However, they've also done billions of dollars in the next product, which is convertible bonds. Convertible bonds is strategy taking up debt by selling convertible bonds. And this has developed now to the extent, I do believe they started that already the end of 2020, but definitely they started years ago. Now they've really ramped it up and are running a factory on this, which is phenomenal value creation for the shareholders. So what it has developed to now, initially they paid a small interest rate on these debts, on these bonds. But the last several times, Sailor is able to borrow money at 0% interest rate for billions of dollars, paying the loan back, paying the bond back with stock that, by the way, has a premium to the amount of Bitcoin backing it. So you're not paying it back with a full amount of Bitcoin, because there's a factor there. So the last convertible bonds they did, they sold, I think it was 2 billion, and it was a 35% premium. So it gets converted to shares. The bonds get paid back by shares that they can just print when they have increased 35% in value. So essentially, I mean, another way of saying it is they borrow $1 billion at 0% interest, and they pay back only 2/3, because the stock can go up 35% before they take that stock and pay back the convertible bond. So you borrow billions of dollars at no interest rate, and you pay back less than you borrowed, essentially valued in stock. So that also generates, that's very accretive. It's more accretive than the ATM in itself, because it's essentially the stock, the ATM, but now with a premium. So that's phenomenal. And again, every time they do that, they end up having more Bitcoin per share in the company. And that is what makes it so interesting as an investment. That's why strategy has outperformed Bitcoin since they started doing this as the only stock in the world. Um, the second best performing asset in the world the last 5 years. is Bitcoin. The best performing is this very stock that we're talking about, MSTR strategy. Furthermore, this year, they started issuing preferred stock, and Saylor just today announced um, that they have a program for selling $21 billion worth of preferred stock, and that $21 billion is going into $21 billion worth of Bitcoin buying. And every time they do, it means that each share you have in MSTR has more Bitcoin behind it. So the way the preferred stock works, I'm no expert, but essentially it is a stock right now they're trading at. Let me just go and have a look. I'm going to have to go away from what are they trading at? I mean, I don't even need to look it up. At 84. So they're trading at $84, and they collect $8 worth of dividend every year. So essentially right now they're yielding about just shy of 10%. But built in also is a an option to convert 10 of these into one strategy share. So, and that is in perpetuity. Right now, strategy is trading around $250. 10 of these are worth $840. So you're now getting a dividend of almost 10% every year, and you're guaranteed that once the stock goes up above $840, it will now perform same as the stock. Correct me if I'm wrong. But um, before you go ahead and think, oh, well, that's interesting, maybe I should buy that, remember that is more than 3x the current price of strategy. So these different products, convertible bonds, preferred stock, and I'm looking forward to see what else Saylor and his team is coming with this year of other specific traditional finance products that there are giant capital pools out there in the market for, where there's something that they have to buy this. There's different regulations that certain entities can only buy bonds. That's why the convertible bonds are amazing for them. But all of these products, they may be and have turned out to be the best performing asset within convertible bonds, best performing, I believe. It's still early, but preferred stock. So he can sell a lot of it. They're best performing in their capital markets. Capital markets, that's where there's hundreds of trillions of dollars. But to create these products, some of the downside has to be limited. The price they pay for that is some of the upside. That upside goes to strategy shareholders, and that's what Saylor does. He works for the MSTR shareholders. Now it should be obvious, but it's important to state, and he's stating it. And um and and you know, you can get excited about the different leverage products, but Sailor's working in the interest of the shareholder. If you're doing leverage products, you're on your own, and you're running risk. Again, let me remind what I said in the beginning. I think MSTR is a rare combination of a quite, if not very safe investment, if given enough time, and an absolutely insane return. I expect insane returns on MSTR over the next 20-year period. Don't invest anything you need the next 4 or 5 years. But so that's the bottom line. Hmm. Let me just see if there's anything in the chat. What do you think about other Bitcoin treasury? I think Bitcoin, not crypto. I think this is really, really interesting. We've seen Semler and Metaplanet arrive doing the same thing last year, and I know that there's a bunch on the way, because it is a very lucrative to be business to be in. What MSTR is in now. Same for Metaplanet, same for Semler. more on the way. I think this year is going to be very, very exciting on that front. And I am going to start putting some focus on these different leverage Bitcoin equities, these different stocks, to take a perspective of how they compare to each other in terms of risk, in terms of upside, management, geographical markets, just to talk about um, how they could stack up against each other's investments. But what do I think? I think it's extremely exciting, to be honest. And I'm very open for it. Let me put it that way. What's your ideal? So this question, Kevin, very one thing I've learned with investing is it is, and I think actually Ben Workman says this, that um, research is like investment research is a team sport, but investing is an individual sport. Not those are probably not the exact words, but what I've learned from myself and from speaking to friends about investing and over decades, I ain't no spring chicken anymore, but over decades is that what's right for one person is not right for another person. It is like it's different from person to person. um, I think best way to answer this is that Bitcoin is savings technology and MSTR is an investment. In terms of value increase, I think for sure MSTR outperforms Bitcoin. I think last year Bitcoin did 2.5x and MSTR did 6.5x, right? That speaks for itself. But Bitcoin in spot has some advantages that we've never seen before. You can have it in your own custody. You can move across. You can leave a country with an oppressive regime that wants to take your money. You can do that with Bitcoin. You can have your money outside of the system. You can't do that with MSTR. So it really is individually or individual. I all I can say is I have both, and I'm happy to have both. And if MSGR really is so good, which it appears to be, that will grow over time. But I'm also definitely this year going to pay more attention to the other opportunities out there. I know that um, if you're really interested in this, hit me up, send me a DM. MetaPlanet, I think they did 56x the first 12 months of trading as a LBE, a leveraged Bitcoin equity. That's interesting. That's phenomenally interesting. Not many people had 56x on Bitcoin. That's like OG stuff. They did it in 12 months. So I find them interesting. If it's something you're interested in, hit me up in the DMs. I'd love to talk more about it. Uh, Uh, do you think they have the ability to outperform? So, it's a good question. Each man for his own, in terms of making the analysis and taking the calls on it. Nobody knows, but it's definitely an interesting, super interesting topic. It's something I'm going to be spending more time on. Um, is looking at these different, well, we only have maybe three right now, but I think end of this year there'll be a bunch more, probably double digit, which will be super interesting. So I want to give that some focus going forward. Um, so bottom line, so this video is a dedication, or it's dedicated to my really good long-term childhood friend Casper, my brother. Um, who had been watching some of my shows here, MSTR Mondays, and asked for some more easy to understand explanation content video on what MSTR is and why is it a good investment. So that's this video. What I'm trying to do is to break it down. And if there's something that is not easy enough to understand. Ask me questions in the chat, and if I get some feedback afterwards, I'm happy to give it another shot, a couple of weeks out or whatever. Um, I'm hoping, by the way, to do an MSTR Mondays during this week as well. Want to pump out some more content. I mean, I'm doing my best to deliver every Monday. Um, that's the show name, MSTR Mondays, but it would be nice to get, I have a specific idea for an interview I want to do this week. It doesn't need to be only Monday. I want to pump out a lot of content. This is fun. And people certainly interested in it. So bottom line, I guess what I'm trying to get at here, is explaining why MSTR, what is it that they do, and why are they interesting as an investment, and that the summary of that, um, really is they have access to some tools, create some financial products for bond buyers, preferred stock buyers that can only buy those things. They can put together with Bitcoin as a driver of value growth within these products, offer them to these markets with a lot of upside compared to where driven by Bitcoin compared to what they usually have access to, right? That's why the last year for periods were the best performing. Like their convertible bonds last year performed better than Bitcoin itself, which is insane. Like you have bond buyers never being able to get a proper real return, and all of a sudden they're outperforming Bitcoin because they convert to MSTR share that outperforms Bitcoin. So again, they have these different tools, different products that they can create to different parts of traditional finance. Every time they make a move, sell any product, raise any funds in any of these different brackets that they right now, we're witnessing financial history, corporate financial history, keep coming out with new products. Every time they raise funds, they're able to increase the amount of Bitcoin per share. Like there, that's it. That's the bottom line. They increase the amount of Bitcoin per share. And that's why we as shareholders are paying a premium compared to the Bitcoin that they hold. And right now, that premium is 77%, which historically is actually low. Last year it was trading mainly between 2 and 3.5. The premium compared to the Bitcoin that they have. Now it's only 77% above. So it's MNAV, multiple net asset value, 1.77. The reason we're paying more than the Bitcoin they hold is because that when they do these moves, raise the funds, they increase the Bitcoin per share. In Q4 alone last year, MSTR increased the Bitcoin per share by 49%. Correct me if I'm wrong, but 49%. Right now, we're paying a 77% premium compared to the Bitcoin they have. I don't think 49% is going to be easy at all, if ever, to reproduce. But I think they're already at 15% for this quarter, and we still have 3 weeks left of March of Q1. But you run that a couple of quarters, and you have grown to the premium that you're paying. So personally, and it's not financial advice, this is just financial entertainment. I mean, look at it. It's a guy wearing a cap saying, well, the previous name of the company, Monday, wearing a t-shirt and a tie. This is not advice, right? You can see this is clearly not advice. It may be compassionate advice, but it's just financial education and entertainment. If you like the entertainment, you can hit the like button. Um, Subscribe. The show comes out every Monday. Anyways, where was I going with that? Yeah, so something very important, I think. Let me go into some of the key numbers here. Where are we in terms of Bitcoin? So right now, MSTR holds 499,096 Bitcoin. So essentially, they're holding just shy of 500,000 Bitcoin. With, let me just calculate. Let's say 499.6. With the M cap of 1.778, that gives MSTR as a company, measured in Bitcoin, a market cap of 800 and almost 890,000 Bitcoin. That's the price of the company almost said it, of MSTR. The market cap of the company is 890,000 Bitcoin, and they hold 500,000 Bitcoin. So it's priced more expensive than what they hold, but that's because they keep buying more. My personal opinion here, it's not advice, and it could be wrong and it could go wrong. My personal opinion is that MSTR definitely is undervalued here. I believe it will be worth significantly more. I believe that MSTR eventually will gather 2.1 million Bitcoin, 10% of all Bitcoin ever outstanding. It's a lot of Bitcoin, but as the amount of the Bitcoin they hold increases, the financial muscle and leverage they have increases. The money they can borrow increase significantly. Then the price of Bitcoin goes up, it increases further. And that's what gives them access to buy more Bitcoin. If you look at Q4, where they bought 200,000 Bitcoin, it's not like, I know Q1 has been a bit of a step back, and we all want more. But overall, if you look at the last 12 months, it's increasing returns, it's not decreasing returns. I think MSTR will end up holding at least 2.1 million Bitcoin. That doesn't mean that you that doesn't mean that this stock will go from 890,000 to 2.1 million, that is straight up value increase. Because remember, all of this happens with equity issuance. But thumbnail, at least half of that, when you look at how accretive the ATM is, the convertible bonds are, the preferred stocks are. When you look at how accretive it is, at least half, if maybe not more, like 60 to 65%, if not 70% of that, will go to existing shareholders, if you know what I mean. So basically, if they add 1 million Bitcoin in the treasury, I personally would account 700,000 of those, 70%, to go to the existing shareholders, while the 30% will go to the newly issued shares and different financial products. So yeah, I think that's it. I can't believe me, who can't stop talking, actually managed to kind of cover it in 58 minutes. Maybe I did. I think so. So that's the bottom line. Casper, my friend, that I did this video for you because you wanted something more, explain the whole MSTR. What is it actually they do, and why is it interesting? It's the only asset that has historically outperformed Bitcoin over a longer period of time is MSTR, because not only do they go up with the price of Bitcoin going up, they go up faster because they can acquire more Bitcoin as the price of Bitcoin goes up. And they can do that, as I explained, because they can tap into the different financial markets and use that to give those different financial markets a return they can't get anywhere else. And they remove some of the downside, give them some downside protection, with the price being they take some of the top, that upside, that unlimited upside, that goes to MSCR shareholders. So thank you Thank you for that, Sailor, and team. And yeah, I think that's it. I can't believe I managed to actually keep a show to 1 hour. But let's see, because I'll probably continue speaking for a long time. Although, no, I won't, because it's now 36 minutes past midnight, and I got to get out of here in about 7 hours. I should get some sleep first. Um, because I got cataracts, and right now on my right eye, and don't feel sorry for me. There's no reason to feel sorry. I have 10% vision. It's super annoying to have cataracts. You get blinded so easily. You can't see in the dark. Um, and um, yeah, it's gone really, like, the last couple of months. It's super downhill. It's very blurry. That's why it went from last summer was 70% to now 10%. Um, and the experience of private hospitals, I would say is amazing. I called them this morning. So I had my eyes checked Friday at a hospital, um, government hospital. Um, and and spoke to her, the nurse, and she said, you can call the private hospitals, and this is, routine surgery that very low risk. Called them up this morning, Monday morning, got a time tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning, for checking the eyes, like um yeah, basically seeing what's um um the situation, the evaluation, you know what I mean. And still, also today, booked time for surgery on Monday next week. So, like, within a week, it's all taken care of. You just have to pay for it. But it's going to be worth it. It's going to be awesome. So I think that's it. Thank you very much for checking in and watching. I appreciate that very much. Again, as I said, it's not financial advice, it's financial entertainment. It's a guy with a cap and a t-shirt and a tie. I mean, clearly it's not advice. It's just entertainment. If you do like the financial entertainment, feel free to like it and subscribe, etc. Also, I will October 10 to 13 MC a Bitcoin weekend island retreat on the east coast of US. It's called campnakamoto.com. It's going to be a lot of great um like famous, like, smart content creators from this space. You can see campnakamoto.com. Tim Kotzman is going to be there. He and I and potentially others will do MSTR content. Larry Lepard, James Lavish, Natalie Brunell, Mark Moss, Joe Consorti, Michelle Weekly, and many more. And there's only 100 spaces. So we'll be on an island for the weekend. We're mainly just, it's very family oriented. There's kids coming. There's going to be lots of, like, fun activities. It's really just about hanging out with fellow Bitcoiners, with your existing friends that you go there with. You make new friends, and you get a chance to talk to some of these really smart people, um, on a one-to-one that is hard to do at a conference. So that's really cool. That discount code, if you type in Anders 10, gives you 10% discount. So there's only 100 spaces with the sleeping and everything on this island. That's the discount code right there, Anders 10. And I think at least 10 of these spots are taken by different content creators that you probably know, most of them, or should know. So it's a pretty good ratio and opportunity to speak to some of these people. I am very much looking forward to doing emceeing that, hosting it on behalf of my good friend Jeff that runs BTC Mass Adoption. Brother, if you're watching this, I love you. Can't wait. It's gonna be awesome. And yeah, we're gonna have a good time. What else is happening? There is Bitcoin 2025 is happening in Las Vegas in second half of May. I'm going there. I'm not organizing any events myself at this conference. I will lean back and enjoy other events and just have a good time. But I will highly likely um, do um, do another pleb party later this year. I didn't put that logo on earlier. I'm not so professional, is that the right word? I'm not that, that's for sure. I'm just doing this because I like it and have fun. So well, there you go. Eventsbyanders.com. On that website, you can sign up to be notified when tickets go on sale, and whenever they go on sale, I always obviously, it's the cheapest, dirt cheap tickets available for purchase to to begin with, um where it's going to be very affordable, very like always sell dirt cheap tickets to start with. That's an incentive to sign up on the newsletter. And I've done 4 pleb parties so far: Los Angeles, Miami. So Los Angeles 22, Miami 23, um Nashville 24, Santa Monica 24. They have been awesome. People have had a great time. I've got so much positive feedback. And a lot of these guys you see here, Larry Lepard, James Lavish, Natalie Brunell, Mark Moss, have all been to those pleb parties, so it's always a good opportunity to meet some of these people and drink a beer with them and say hi and have a little bit more of a conversation than again that you can have at the conference. I had a lot of fun doing those. And I had to sit over Las Vegas. I'm looking forward to see what else is going on, and I'll come back later in the year. I know that there's some more stuff that's going to happen. Anyways, appreciate you watching. I appreciate you being a Bitcoiner and being around. Bitcoin is helping humanity. Just buying and holding it is doing more for humanity than pretty much anything else you can do. And bonus is you probably chances are you're going to have a very good return with it. Um, don't forget, life is good. God is good. Jesus loves you. He paid with his sin-free life. He gave up his own life and went through torture and the most humiliating death that Romans didn't even give to their own citizens, no matter what they had done. They gave that most degrading and painful death to Jesus as a payment for our sins, because we're all sinners, to payment for our sins. So thank you, Jesus, for giving up your life. So I have an offer of salvation, and we all do. It's up to us. Um, love you all. See you in the next one. Hope to do an MSTR on Mondays during the week, and definitely again next Monday. Hope you guys have a great week. Wherever you are, have a great evening. See you in the next one. Ciao. Okay. Clicking end stream. Okay. It's not